Hello and welcome everyone, hope you are doing great. In this video, we'll be starting a conversation regarding the new features and upgrades that we have in Revit software version 2027. Now, first off guys, remember this version of the software has been released alongside an upgrade. I'm talking about 2027.0.1. Now, I actually recommend downloading and basically just installing both of them. And well, obviously your software's build should also be 2027.0.1. Alright guys, after installing the software, when we open it up, exactly like in previous versions, we'll be getting the homepage, the recent page, and the rest. The new part will be this part here on the right, in which we'll be informed regarding the new features, additional points, and everything that basically is new in the new version. Just remember, you need to be within your Autodesk account. And when we close it down, we would easily be able to open it up again like this. Alright guys, as for another new thing that we have within our homepage in the new version, we can mention this sample file. Now honestly, this is very helpful. I mean, we can use it for many different purposes, like for example, testing the new items, going through things, or even teaching. Now, regarding the sample file itself, guys, as you can see, it has three alternatives. We would be able to enter one of them, for example, and then, for example, within the 3D view, we have access to design options, meaning we would be able to use the different versions of this project, guys. See? Yeah, so basically, this is a very useful and helpful item that we got in Revit 2027. Alright guys, some of the users might actually be confused regarding the next point. The thing is, in Revit 2027, the option bar has been removed. And we can find the options and items that we used to find within the option bar now within either Rebound or the Properties tab. Now, for further elaboration on this, I'm actually going to go ahead and open up a new file to talk about this whole thing from the scratch. For example, I'm going to select wall here. If you recall, guys, previously we used to have an option bar containing items and options such as height or level. Now, though, as I mentioned earlier, we can find these items either within the Rebound or the Properties tab. As an example here, we got heights and depth and basically items related to these. Or, for example, we got offset up here, joint status, allow or disallow join. Let's see what else we got here. We got place by room, place by segment. These are very useful, guys. Okay, moving on. Next up, I'm going to select a door. Exactly like what we had in walls. Some of the items are in the Rebound and the rest are within the properties. So then to put it simply, in Revit 27, when you want to use an item but you weren't able to find anything related to it within the option bar, you need to look for the required items either within Rebound or Properties tab. Now the deal is the same with the stairs, guys. As you can see, all the stair related items are now within Rebound. Okay, as for another point, or actually it's better to say as for another change that we have in Revit 27, we can talk about the fact that some of the items and icons and tabs are a bit different now. And not only that, guys, we also have a better consistency in between the icons and the theme that we're using, like light mode or dark mode. I mean, everything has gotten more modern. For example, I'm going to open up a sheet here. So I want to create a sheet title. As you can see, this is way better now. Honestly, it is even more professional. Or, for example, let's test the drafting view. See, this is very good. Now, as for another example, I'm going to go back to this file. So I want to work on an area plan. And the tab looks like this now. Now we can, for example, select a type here. And then we can specify the level. We also have this duplicating item. And then basically get on with our work. The modernity has been applied on other tabs as well, like name, work sharing, synchronize with central, and basically other tabs and windows. Let me go ahead and give you another example. I'm going to select this. Then from edit type, I'm going to try renaming this. You see the tab? Okay. Now, as an important perk regarding removing the option bar, we can mention the fact that it helps the users be more focused during their works. I mean, previously, we actually had to look for the required items in 3 different places or locations. Now, though, there are simply only 2 locations, guys. I mean, either the Rebound or the Properties tab. Alright, moving on. In this version, we have a better control on the linked files line weight. Okay, let me find a project with a linked file. Let me just create something. I'm simply going to set up some walls here and create something because I want you to get familiar with this whole thing from the scratch. Okay, I guess this will do. Now, from Manage, then Object Styles, I need to find Wall and change the line weight from 3 to 7. As you can see, we got more line weight here. Okay, let's save this file now. Let's just give it a name, some name. Alright, now let's open up another file. And then just link the file that we just created. What's happening here is that the line weight that is currently being used is from the current file, which is not that big of a deal. You can just easily open up Visibility and Graphics, and from Revit Links, here we can find this option, line weight. Now from Custom, change this from Host to Link. And now the line weight that we can see is the one that we specified back in our link file, guys. So yeah, that would be another interesting point or feature that we have in Revit 2027, guys. One of the most interesting features developing within the recent versions of Revit is accelerated graphics, and it has also gotten, you can say, quite better, upgraded and enhanced within the new version, Revit 2027. Like, as an example, one of the best enhancements is regarding section boxes. You would be able to use them as in real time. Now take a look at this. I'm going to activate the section box and try using it on this 3D view of mine. Now, as I'm sure you already know, guys, using a section box is a pretty simple job. I mean, well, you just need a couple of clicks, or you can say a click track for specifying the boundary, the required boundary. And, well, that's about it, actually. Now, have this in mind that in some software, such as, well, Nevis, for example, you already be getting real-time display when using section boxes. And now to put it simply then, we got such an ability or feature in Revit as well. I mean, thanks to accelerated graphics. Just need to activate this. And after it got switched to GPU, we would be able to use the section boxes within real time without any delays or anything. See? This is actually very good. I mean, it adds a lot of pace to our work, and it's a very helpful thing when it comes to coordination of a model within a project. Now, we're not done with accelerated graphics just yet. As another added feature, we can mention Hofton. Well, to elaborate more, we have a full access to all the required settings regarding Hofton from accelerated graphics. Now, the only thing that you need to do would be selecting the items and elements that you have in mind and then apply the Hofton based on different aspects. I'm talking about applying the Hofton based on a view, based on element, based on category, based on filters, or based on Revit links, for example, or even facing. Obviously, as you know, we can use Hofton when using visibility graphics, filters, Revit links, or even by element or by category filters up here. See? I'm applying this Hofton, and basically what I'm trying to say is that we have a full access to it from accelerated graphics from now on. As another new feature, guys, in Revit 2027, accelerated graphics supports the transparent elements as well. Now, exactly like in Hofton, you would be able to apply a transparency on elements as well. Now, when I say exactly like Hofton, I mean you would be able to do so based on the same aspects. So, as an example, I would be able to apply the transparency from the Visibility and Graphics tab. And well, basically, long story short, we would be able to do this based on all the aspects that I mentioned earlier. I guess 6 aspects that I mentioned earlier. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that accelerated graphics supports transparent elements, and as you can see, not only they are being displayed, I mean, we can actually see them, but also we have access to all the required, or we can say related settings. I'm going to try applying like 65% of transparency here. As you can see, it is being supported without any problems. All right, now let's talk about an enhancement regarding accelerated graphics in Revit 2027, guys. The thing is, in this version, the linked files are being supported and displayed more completely, or at least a lot better than before. Now, take a look at this. Here I've got some linked items and files. And I'm also going to activate the section box here because, because we can. Why not? I'm going to go ahead and activate the section box from the Visibility and Graphics tab, only the section box. All right. Now, as I explained earlier, guys, we would be able to use the section box within real time, and, well, we have access and we can see all the linked files here as well. All right, let me just make sure that all of my linked files are on. Good. And take a look at this. Now we would be able to, for example, navigate and basically just work quite rapidly and easily. And this is very good when it comes to coordinating a project, as I said. Welcome back, guys. As for another interesting feature added to Revit in version 2027, we can mention Autodesk Assistant. To put it simply, Autodesk Assistant is an AI item, an AI assistant, helping us within design and make processes. Now, exactly like in other AI items, or basically AI systems, it works based on or according to a prompt that you need to specify. However, guys, remember, this item is a bit limited. I mean, it works only for some routine processes. For example, for answering some general questions, or for creating some schedules, or for printing something, creating a PDF export, and so on. In general, product help is one of the segments supported by this item quite precisely, which would be that whole Q&A process that I just mentioned like a few seconds ago. Oh, and as for another interesting feature, guys, when this item is activated and also you're inside your Autodesk account, while using some items, you would get some recommendations by the by the Autodesk Assistant on how to use that item in the best way possible. Alright, another supported segment by this item would be Model Query, which basically includes processes like extracting detail and info or creating schedules. As for another supported segment, we can mention Task Automation. I guess this one is quite obvious, right? You can use the AI system for automatically completing some specific tasks, such as creating levels, sheets, renaming processes, adding tags and rooms, and basically similar processes. And at the end, guys, for accessing this item, the Autodesk Assistant, you can click on this icon here. Or you can access it from the View tab and User Interface here. Now, remember, guys, exactly like in other tabs, such as the Properties tab or Project Browser, this tab is also a floating one. I mean, you can easily just select it and move it around. Like, you can locate it wherever you want to. You can even combine it with other tabs. Or you can just put it right on the right, which is actually the default location. Right now, let's check the items that we got in the tab. First item is chat. I guess this one is quite obvious. I mean, you can just easily have a conversation with your AI assistant regarding the mentioned supported concepts. The next item is My Insight. Through this one, you'll access some, you can say, points, some new techniques, and basically tricks that you can use during your works. Prompt Library is the third item, guys, and it is very interesting and useful. As you know, guys, sometimes when using AIs, you might need a prompt more than once. As an example, let's say you have written a prompt for creating a schedule for columns, and you need this prompt again. If this is the case, instead of writing the prompt all over again, you can just easily save it and use it as many times as you want. Now, next item is history, and at the end we have settings. And if you want to start up a new conversation or basically a new chat, you can click on this item, guys. Now, let me give you a recommendation here, guys. Try to use new chats, different chats, basically for different purposes. Now, I don't mean that you shouldn't develop your prompts. What I mean here is that, for example, if you're having a conversation regarding level creation, you shouldn't change your topic midway. Just stick with levels and levels only in that chat. And if you want to change your topic, if you have to change your topic, try opening a new chat or start up a new conversation. Now, remember, guys, this is very important, so pay attention. This is just an AI system, so it is not perfect. And even Autodesk itself says this. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that after using the AI system for basically doing anything, you need to do some checking. You need to do some analysis yourselves to make sure that everything has been done correctly. Okay, guys, now let's start using the system. First, we can begin with the make segment, actually. For example, let's try making or creating a schedule for all the walls. After sending the prompt, guys, what is going to happen is that it begins analyzing the project, and by that I mean the walls, actually, and it creates a schedule for them using all the, you can say, the most important or useful parameters. If you don't want that, you can easily specify the required parameters yourselves. I mean, for example, like you can specify the dimensional parameters. And since we didn't do that, it chose some parameters for us, and you can actually check all of those important parameters here in this list. And to be honest, these are good parameters, by the way. Okay, now this will be the schedule. Let's try another prompt. Give me a new L1 level. Let's see whether it'll work or not. Based on this. Okay, so it basically says that it doesn't understand the prompt. Well, exactly like in other AI systems, it suggested some prompt developments for us. Now, I didn't give up, did I? I changed my prompt to this one. Create a new floor plan for L1 named L1 Demo. Now, this prompt was clear enough, and, well, it worked out. And it worked out pretty nicely, for that matter. Now, next up, I'm going to demand a proper view template. Currently, the view template is set on none. Let's see what kind of view template the AI applies for us. All right, here we go. It says that you're dealing or working on an architectural plan, and, well, that is exactly the view template that I applied on it. We can also check the info regarding the applied view template, guys. For example, for the scale, we got 100th, detail level is set on coarse, and display mode or display style is hidden lines. And remember, this is not final. I mean, we can always apply further or new modifications on the result. Right now, for continuing our work, I'm actually going to try creating the same thing for the other levels. I'm talking about GF and level 2. I mean, I'm basically going with the same floor plan, same type of floor plan, and the same type of view template. I mean, first from coordinate, we can check the floor plans. And then from properties, we can check the view templates as well. Now, as I said, if you don't want these view templates, you can easily just click here and try applying another. If you want to do this more easily, you can just mention the required view template within your prompt, guys. Okay, guys, as for our next example, we're going to try doing something with this AI system regarding the sheets. For example, we got these views here. What I'm going to do would be, let's say I need some new sheets and I want these views to be set within them. Well, let's check it out. We got 3 new sheets and the views are being set in them. We can always specify the position as well. Okay, so this is extremely useful. As for another thing, guys, we can rename the sheets. You can specify the name that we want for the sheets. within our prompt. Oh, by the way, guys, remember, you can basically use any languages that you want, but to be honest, English works the best. Yeah, I mean, that way it works more rapidly and accurately. Okay, overall, this whole thing is very good. Back to our 3D view. Do we got any warnings? I mean, we should have some. Let me see. Yeah, we got some warnings here, guys. What I'm going to do would be using the AI system for getting a precise list on all the warnings that we have regarding the model. So let me specify the prompt. Take a look at this, guys. Here it actually explains how we can access the warnings. So it can actually play an educational role as well. I mean, honestly, it didn't really complete the task that I wanted, but this one works too. I mean, as I said, this is not perfect. Now, let us go through an example regarding model query as well. For example, find all the doors within the first level. Let's see whether it works or not, guys. See here, it says that it's working, kind of. Let's see. Here you go, guys. It says we got 18 doors, and it's giving us further information and detail regarding them as well. And it is also categorizing everything. So we got doors, openings, handles. So an example, it says that we got a single opening. Okay, let me just show you the opening that I'm talking about. And the L1. Where is it? Here. As you can see, I have only used an opening, not the door. But because it is considered as a door family, we've got it. All right, let's remain within our 3D view, guys. As I mentioned earlier, this AI system supports some exporting processes as well, like, for example, for exporting an IFC or PDF. I'm going to open up any new chat. What I want to do would be exporting all the sheets, guys. And I want PDF exports, by the way. So let's see what is going to happen. Is it working or not? Yeah. It's analyzing the sheets. And here we go. Now the exporting process is being done as a background process. Oh, and by the way, it also specifies a path, a location, and also a name for the exported file. Okay, says that the file contains sheets from A1 all the way to A13. Okay, next up, we can ask the AI to rename all of our sheets based on their levels, for example, or even their disciplines. So we can do that as well. All right, it is asking some questions, guys, and the questions are actually quite interesting. Before that, though, the exporting process is done, and here's the file. See? Okay, let's close it down. Back to those questions. It basically says, I get what you need. Can you provide me with some more info, though? For example, how exactly you want your discipline to be displayed? A for architecture, S for structure, M for mechanical, E for electrical. Or for example, how exactly you want your level info to be displayed within the name? I'm talking about the format. As another question, what views are exactly placed within the sheets? Anyway, what I'm going to do would be developing my prompt and try to answer all of the questions. I mean, obviously, guys, a complete and precise prompt equals a complete and precise result. All right, it is working. And all done. Now we got all the sheets are renamed. As for the discipline, we got A as in structure, and they are being renamed based on level numbering. Let's open up one of the sheets. Good. Okay, we went through an example for regarding reports and creating schedules. Like, I think we created a schedule, was it for doors or walls? Don't really remember, doesn't matter. And now we can go through an example for applying a modification. For example, remove all the unused families. Is it going to work or not? Okay, so it didn't work. Instead, it says that we should be using this item, purge unused. You know what, to put it simply, guys, it either completes the task or helps us complete it ourselves. Right. When we type a prompt down, guys, we'll get two icons or items underneath it. First one is copy prompt, which we can use for, well, copying the prompt basically for different purposes. Like, for example, let's say you have used a prompt for creating a schedule for doors, and now you want to use the same prompt for creating a schedule, this time for, like, walls. And then next up, we got save prompt. Obviously, this is an item that we would be able to use for saving the prompts, just in case we wanted to use it later on within another project. Like, I'm going to try saving this one. Now, here we got, we can specify a name or, a title basically for the prompt, whatever you want to call it. And then here we can also develop the prompt. Now, after doing this, we would be able to access the prompt later on from save prompts here. And basically, we don't really need to go through all of those, you can say, repeated processes again. So then, to put it simply, we would get some pre-made prompts or pre-specified prompts that we would be able to use later on within future projects. Okay, guys, let's talk about an additional, you can say, extension or plugin even by Autodesk to Revit called MCP Server. Let me show you what I'm talking about, guys. Okay, here we got public MCP Server. We need to download and install this. Now, to put it simply, this is another assistant connecting Revit to some AI, such as Cloud, but to be honest, it is way more professional and complete compared to Autodesk Assistant. Oh, and by the way, guys, you actually need to download and install the Cloud software as well. Now, remember, this actually has two versions. One is free and the other one is monetary or pro. And, well, obviously the free version is a bit limited. I mean, using the pro version, you would be able to work with better and more professional prompts. All right, after downloading and installing both the extension and the Cloud software or AI, there are some steps that you need to take. Well, I mean, more precisely, there are some settings that you need to specify or go through. First off, you need to be entering this specific path. Let me show you the location of the path through Notepad. Talking about this. And then you need to edit this file. Let me give you a demonstration on this. I need the Run tab. Updater/cloud. What's the name of the file? Cloud desktop config. All right. So then let me find it here. And by the way, guys, the suffix or the extension is very important. It should definitely be JSON. Oh, and if you aren't able to see the extension, you need to go ahead and from the View tab, activate Show Extension. Or actually, disable Hide Extension. All right, now we need to do a right click here and try opening this up within either Notepad or Notepad++. And I actually recommend using Notepad++ because it's more professional. I already specified the settings, guys. This will be the path in which the MCP server is being saved. Now, to understand this whole thing better, I'm going to open up the path and show you this whole thing simultaneously. We need the C drive. Then program files, Autodesk, Revit 2027 MCP server here. Now there should be an Excel file here somewhere. Let's find it. Here we go. Do right click and select copy as path. Now let's go back to the Notepad and paste this whole thing. Now we need the format to be JSON, and for converting it to such, we need to add another slash to this. All right, next up, we need a code, guys. We need to put in a code, and we can actually find the code, the required code from the Autodesk website itself. Let me go ahead and copy paste the code here to show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. This is the code. All right, now we need to do a bit of replacing here. I'm going to get a copy of this whole thing. and replace it down here. Yeah, just this part, guys. Okay, now as for our next step, guys, we need to get a copy of this and then go ahead and paste it where? Exactly within this JSON file here. Now again, this is what I did before. I mean, I already did this, so I'm not going to do this again. I'm just going to close this down now. Don't want it to be saved. So then one more time, guys, open up the JSON file first, then copy the code and put in the address, your MCP file address. After doing all of this, guys, you need to close down your cloud software just once, and you should be doing it directly from Task Manager. And just to play it safe, you can even restart your whole system once. Alright then, so let's go through the steps one more time. You need to close down your Revit software, download and install both MCP Server and Cloud software. Then you need to be entering the path that we talked about, the path with the whole Cloud desktop config file, and then start the editing process. And then at the end, either close down your software from Task Manager or restart your system. Alright, as for our next step, guys, from connectors, we need to make sure that Revit Public MCP short is activated. And then we're basically done. Yeah, now the AI system is connected to Revit. Now, what's good about this is that in prior versions, you needed some extra plugins. Your connection to the AI was somewhat indirect. Now, it's not the case, though. Okay, let us try using this now. And remember, because this is a more professional AI, it doesn't really matter what language you're using. Now, as for our first prompt, let's say I want to find out about the name of our currently open Revit file. I don't need to allow the access to the model. And it begins processing. Wait for it. Okay, it's done, and we got the name of our file here. Okay, let's try another prompt. This time, let's say I want to have a graphical dashboard containing all of the elements within our 3D view. Let me just complete the prompt. One more time, guys, remember, all the languages are being supported here. English is still the better option. It's the best option. Because that way, it processes everything more rapidly. And also, if you don't want to limit yourselves, don't forget to go with the Pro version, the monetary version. I guess there are some monthly fees or something that you need to pay up, and then you won't face any limits anymore. Unlike what you get while using the free version, guys. To put it simply, guys, the interaction that you would have with the AI would be extremely better when using the Pro version. Anyway, as you can see, the process is being done, and it actually, it's somehow distinguishing everything. See? All the elements. And overall, it is creating the graphical dashboard, helping us distinguish all the elements, or separate or divide, or basically analyze all the elements based on colors. Now, one more time, guys, remember, Autodesk Assistant is a good AI system. It is a bit general, though, and compared to that, this one, MCCP, is an extremely better and more professional AI system. Alright, guys, let us try another prompt now. As an example, let's say I want all of the walls to be colored based on their type name. Alright. Completing the prompt and send. Okay, so at the moment I'm using the free version, so one of the limits actually would be the fact that it says that I need to try this later on again. Yeah, so another time then. Either way, there are many different tasks that you can complete using this, guys. For example, you can create different filters, you can display all the elements or as many elements that you want, you can search for specific items, you can get information regarding the parameters, you can apply particular modifications and edits, and even modeling processes. Like, for example, you can use it for setting the walls or floors. You can even work on your views, like you can open them up, you can close them down, remove them, rename them, whatever you want. And you can even create some image exports. Alright guys, that will be all. In this session, we talked about two AI systems that we have in Revit 2027. One was interior, talking about Autodesk Assistant, which was a bit general. And then the more professional option would be MCP Server, the exterior option. By the way, guys, here I've prepared a file for you containing all the required information and steps for working with MCP Server. You can check this one out as well. I mean, you can even just copy paste everything that you need directly from this file. Just make sure that you are going about this whole thing completely precisely. Alright everyone, that would be all. However, more general features. Now, they are quite interesting as well though. Now, first off, let's talk about colors. So then from files, options, and colors here. If you recall, guys, previously we used to have an item here called rebar editing color. It was kind of specific to rebars, but now we just have editing color, meaning not only we can use it for rebars, but also for save view position, assemblies, parts, and structural connections. And by default, the color that we have here is green. Alright, then I'm gonna hit OK now and try entering one of these sheets. I guess this one will do. As you know, guys, we got some floor plans here and they are set within some sheets, and also save position is activated for them. Meaning all of the views or plans are set within the same location inside the sheets, guys. Now here we got edit position, and also the color that we can currently see for the frame is green. Or we can always change it, like talking about customizing the color. As an example, instead of green, give me this one, or another maybe, because it is quite similar to calculation. Yeah, better. Now, edit position, and here we go, another color. This was for save a position. How about rebars? Let me enter this file. I need to enter a two-dimensional view though, like this section. And can you see the color that we got for this? I'm going to select it and hit edit. Then exactly like before, we can select the color that we have in mind. So we can easily customize everything according to what we have in mind. Now let's go back and set this back on green, which as I said is the default color. And one more time, select, edit, and here we go, the green color again. Now, shall we check the other items? I'm talking about assemblies, parts, and structural connections. You know what? Let's just do it. I don't know why I'm just talking about it. I'm just gonna open up an empty file. Try setting a wall here based on the second level. Anyway, guys, at the moment, we're talking about the features that we have for the structural discipline. But we have other videos regarding other disciplines and their features as well. Anyway, an opening. Next up from structure, I need a wall foundation. Alright, then back to 3D now. Select. I'm going to activate this because I don't want any breaks or anything. Now select and convert this into an assembly. Here we go. We got an assembly. Now select, edit assembly, and there's the green color again. Well, through this color, we can find out that we in fact got an assembly and we're trying to edit it. Alright, now as for our next example, I'm going to try working with a part. So give me a wall, something simple, guys, nothing complex. Alright, now up here, we would be able to find create part, guys. So I'm going to click on the item and convert this wall into a part. Now, as you can see, we have the green color again. Okay, good, great. Now, last but not least, we got the structural connections. Now, let me just find a connection, like for example, the steel connection here, and then if I hit edit, again, we would see the green color. Oh, by the way, guys, remember, within a display mode such as realistic, the colors won't be displayed. You need to be using a display mode such as hidden lines. So then one more time, in Revit 2027, you would be able to control the editing colors when dealing with edit rebar, edit assembly, edit part, edit structural connections, and save view positioning. I mean, you can select the colors that you want and, well, customize everything. Alright guys, let's talk about a very small feature yet quite interesting in Revit 2027. Let's close down the extra tabs first. All right, here we got a lot of details. What I'm going to do would be using collapse all to close everything. From all, right click, collapse all. Now from sheets, I'm going to try creating a new collection. I'm going to call it details. Now let's throw some sheets in there, inside the new collection. All right, now back here, I don't really need this anymore, so close. Back here again. Now, if we do a right click on the sheets, guys, we would see this option called Auto Expand View All Sheets on View Placement. And by default, it is enabled. Now let's talk about it a bit more. For further elaboration, what I'm going to do would be adding some views or plans, details, whatever. For example, these to the sheet. Now, we got a lot of views, right? And due to that option being activated, the sheet would be expanded and all of the views would kind of be placed within the sheet. Now let's try this one more time, this time without the option, so disable. Now, what is happening is that if I go ahead and add the views to the sheets, the subcategory, the subcategory won't be open. We need to do it, we need to open it up manually ourselves. And well, this might actually be useful within a large projects, guys, to avoid scrolling. Now, if we add the views to the sheets with the item, the subcategory would automatically be opened. So then basically what I'm trying to say here is that using this item, using this option, if you will, is quite optional. You can enable it if you want an expansion within your project browser, and if you want everything to be collapsed or closed, just disable it. As another interesting item in Revit 2027, we can talk about morphed rebar. Using this item within a structural discipline, we would be able to model vertical rebars based on horizontal ones. Now, this is an extremely helpful item, especially when it comes to working on complex structures like infrastructure such as bridges or tunnels. However, we can always use it for within simpler projects like, for example, when we are modeling a building or something. While using this item for setting the vertical rebars, in case there were any changes, any geometrical changes to the horizontal ones, the vertical ones would act accordingly. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the entire process is quite automatic. Now, let's go through an example. As you can see, I'm entering this structural file. And then here, what I'm going to do would be setting a column, as you can see, based on height and up to the second level. And then I'm going to load another structural column here, like this. And then let's throw some stairs in there as well. Monolithic. The default settings will do. Do not need any railings. So then none. And then I'm just going to set up the staircase here. Okay, now I need a section line. Alright, entering the section now. What's the height here? 3, give me 4 instead. Yeah, give me 4 meters. It seems like the staircase actually needs a bit of modification, so let me just do that. I need a landing here, then continue the rest of the steps. Right, I guess it's all there. Now, for moving on with the rest of our discussion, I'm going to activate the tile viewer and set up these views next to each other. Now, for the 3D view, I'm going to set the discipline on coordination. Then, from visibility and graphics, I need to make sure that the stairs are activated. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do would be selecting the rectangular column from the section. So you can see up here, we'll be getting this item called morphed. First, though, what I'm going to do would be selecting a rebar from shape browser like this one. And we already talked about layout rules, custom spacing, and their formulas. So, for example, first 20% distance on 100. Then whatever remain for the middle one, so then question mark. Then add sign 200. semicolon, 20%. I mean the last 20%. Again, the distance, 100. All right, this will be our formula then. Let me just set this on perpendicular. All right then, guys, now it's time to use Morph for setting the vertical rebars. So then I'm going to select the item, and well, there are some extra points and sub items that we need to talk about. Now, first off, up here, we have two sub items by segments, obviously meaning the side length, and then we have the entire bar. Now, as an example, I can go with the entire bar here, then set this on fixed number. Let's say I need like 12 bars. Yeah, 12 vertical rebars. See? Finish. So you can see the entire process is being done quite automatically. I'm going to set this one fine. All right, now, as I mentioned early on, in case there were any geometrical changes, the vertical rebars would act accordingly. I mean, they would automatically be modified. You don't have to apply any manual modifications anymore. So yeah, this is a very interesting and useful item then. The rest of the items, the rest of the settings are actually quite the same as before, guys. I mean, what we had in prior versions, like we can go ahead and set up a crank here. Take a look at this. For this part up here, you can select a crank. If I change up my view, you would be able to see this whole thing as well. Oh, and by the way, if we change up this number here, guys, the entire form would be affected. Yeah, so this whole feature is quite interesting. All right, now let's go through an example using the other column, I mean the circular one. I'm going to go ahead and select this. Here we go. Guys, we're dealing with a curved object here, right? Back in prior versions, setting vertical rebars inside curved objects was a bit difficult, honestly. However, the process is quite simple in this version, guys. We just need to select Morph, then select the object and the entire bar, specifying the number, fixed number 8 or 9. And then we can just set the rebars automatically via a single click. Now let's change the view and take a look at this whole thing. Here we go. Now, how about for the staircase, guys? Well, let's find out. Give me rebar. Sketch. I'm sketching the first rebar right here. Let me just close this down for now. Okay. And then another sketch for another rebar here. Finish. Alright, this time let's try doing this whole thing a bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and select Morph again. This time I'm going to go with by segment. Here I'm going to select maximum spacing and then 20 cm for the distance. Now remember, guys, we're going with by segment, so in fact the modifications would be applied on each segment separately, but if we were to go with entire bar, the whole thing would have been affected. So we can add this either above the segment or below it. Let's say above it, for example. See? Simply done, guys. Now let's try applying a bit of distance like 20 cm. Take a look at this now. If I go ahead and click here, the bar would be added with the specified offset, guys. Well, yeah, nothing complex basically. Now take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and set this on fine, guys. As you can see, we got the bar and then there's the offset. Right, anyway, guys, I'm going to remove these. Then select. Okay. Guys, we can actually access the Morph item from somewhere else. I mean, instead of selecting it from here, we can directly select it from concrete. All right, now 0 for the offset, entire bar, and this time let's set it downwards. Maximum spacing is specified. Click here, and we got the rebars. Now we can always modify this further, guys. I mean, afterwards, after doing this whole thing, after setting the rebars, like we can apply modifications on the geometry or adding some more items like cranks, or even specifying or using different parameters. Like, for example, for our current example, the length parameter should be controlled. And about to put it simply, it goes back to the rebar settings, guys, with which I'm sure you are quite familiar. Alright then, shall we go through another example then, guys? Maybe something more complex. Let me find a file here. We got a bridge here. I guess it'll do. We got a section. Let's check this out. Now entering the 3D view again, closing the extra tabs down. Now I'm going to press WT and set up these views, these two views next to each other. Yeah, I guess this is a fairly complex example. Entering the section, I'm going to try selecting this. I'm going to use Pick Path, Edit. I'm going to set up my path right here. Pick. And this will be our rebar. Now again, I can use path, say 400. And we'll be getting these rebars. See, all of them, all of these rebars are distributed on this path, guys. Now remember that these would be the horizontal rebars. We need to set up the vertical ones as well. And we can actually do this whole thing within both views. For example, let's try the 3D view. Select, morph, now select by rebar, then select one of these two sub-items, either the entire bar or segment. For example, I'm going with entire bar. Give me like 5. See? Simply done, guys. Then as another very interesting point, guys, in the new version, we're also able to split the free-formed rebars that we would set. Again, guys, remember, this is only possible in the new version. It wasn't really possible back in the prior versions, and it is quite useful, especially when it comes to working on, well, overlaps or couplers. And one more time, remember, the important point to which you need to pay attention is the fact that this is possible for free-formed rebars. Okay, now let me try giving you a demonstration here. For example, I'm entering the first level. Here I'm going to select Splice, selecting a type. Then here we got two options, pick line or by length. I'm going to go with pick line. And then I can just get on with my splitting process via some simple clicks, guys, as you can see. Now take a look at this. All these splices are applied here successfully and easily, and we got the overlaps, for example, the required overlaps. Yeah, so this is another very interesting and useful ability that we got in Revit 2027. Moving on to our next point. While we're using Morph, guys, in the Properties tab, we would see this item or option called the Workshop Instructions. If we set this on Band, guys, the rebar's geometry, or you can say even the rebar's shape, would automatically be controlled and specified. Now, this simply adds a lot of preciseness and accuracy to our work, especially when we need or when we want to create a schedule for our rebars as well. Now, as another interesting feature in this version, guys, we can mention the fact that we're able to automatically calculate the weight within the rebars. Take a look at this. Here we have reinforcement mass. Well, obviously, first we need to select something, and then this item tells us about the mass or the weight. Now, back in the prior versions, we actually had to calculate the weight or the mass manually somehow within our schedules. Well, we actually needed some formula, if you recall, but it won't be the case anymore. Alright, as for another thing, guys, when working with concrete elements, we're able to get some information for some profiles based on their real shape or geometry. Now, the process happens completely automatically, and it includes all the required changes and modifications. To elaborate further on this, guys, I'm talking about specifying analytic parameters, for example, area. Yeah, such parameters would basically be automatically specified and even controlled, you can say, based on the element's real geometry. And well, to put it simply, all of this would help us work a lot more precisely. Now, this is actually a necessity, by the way. For example, especially when you want to move or transfer your Revit model into another, you can say, calculative software. All right, let me just activate this from Analyze. This will be our analytical model. Now, if I select this, as you can see in the Properties tab, we have some items and parameters. But if I open up Edit Type, we basically have nothing, honestly. So we actually need to do something else then. We need to enter the family template. Then here from section shape, we need to select a suitable section shape. Like this one. I can load this into the project. Which project was it though? Project 3. Okay. So load into this one then. override the existing version. Now, if I open up Edit Type, here we would see this option, Enable Auto Calculation of Values. And by activating or enabling this option, all of the required parameters and items would automatically be specified. Well, you can always do the whole calculations manually. Now let's try doing the same for this model. Again, back to the family template, give me a section shape. This one is a round one. Okay, load this in. Now, one more time, open up Edit Type and enable the option. Done and done. Next feature that we can talk about, guys, would be regarding the connections. You know what, let's actually talk about the feature through an example. I'm adding a couple of columns. Now I'm entering the second level and set up a beam here. Now, I'm going to enter the family template for the beam, guys. Give me the front view. And I'm going to try setting a void here. Center. Align. Like this down. Basically, for this current example, I'm setting this void right in the middle. I can go with 100, no, 50 will finish. Back to the plan. Like these down. Let's check this in 3D. Yeah, we got the void. Right, let's load this into the project. Now, if I try setting or adding a connection to this, to put it simply, it would be supported. Guys, the point that I'm trying to prove here is that in prior versions, when we wanted to add a void to our objects, we shouldn't have any extra, you can say, geometries, like, for example, voids. See, take a look at this. We can do this whole thing in this version without any problems. Yeah, basically no errors, and we got the connection. Even if we were to do something within our project template, like for example, I'm using biface to add a void here. And again, as you can see, it is being supported without any problems, guys. Okay, that will be all regarding the new features and points for the structural discipline in Revit 2027. And there are some new features, new analytical features and points that we need to discuss as well, but that will be a conversation for another session. As another feature added to Revit 2027, we can mention an item called numbering. As you can probably guess from the name, this would be an item that we would be able to use for doing the numbering, the required numbering when working. And by that, I actually mean both the numbering process and managing the numbers and the process. Now, to be honest, this is actually one of the most needed, most required, or you can even say most demanded items by the users themselves. In prior versions, for doing the whole numbering process, you had to use some plugins or dynamo scripts or, jumping through some hoops. I mean, there were some limits is what I'm trying to say, basically. Now, though, thanks to this item, this numbering item, and better yet, this built-in item, the whole numbering process has become a very simple task. Now let's see how this whole thing works, guys. First and foremost, you would be able to use this item for, for specifying the codes or numbering the items and elements, regardless of your discipline. I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of discipline you're working in. You can access the item from the Manage tab right here. Now take a look at this tab. Let's see how what this tab is all about. As you can see up here, we have some, items or icons and stuff. First thing that we need to do would be specifying a numbering template. In other words, we need to add or specify a name. So I'm going to hit add then. And as for the name, I'm going with curtain panel. Let's say I'm trying to specify some numbers or codes for curtain panels. Now another name, like Alien. Oh, let me give you a point, guys. When you're specifying multiple numbering templates or names, basically functioning for the same category, the priority would be with the top one or the first one, you can say. And on the same note, when using or when you have multiple naming or numbering templates, you would be able to turn them on or off using these buttons here. Okay. All right, then this was the numbering template. The second item or icon here would be the duplicate. It is obvious, right? This is duplicate. This is something that you would use for reproducing an item or anything, basically. Like in our current case, we would be able to reproduce or duplicate our numbering templates and then rename them to whatever we want. See? Like this. By the way, this would be the renaming item, and then using the item next to it, we would be able to change the priority within the numbering templates. And then at the end, we can delete everything that we want using this one. Now, on the right, we have basically all the required settings for the numbering process. And first off up here, we have the name of our numbering template again. For example, current panel, as you can see. Then right after, we have the status. As you can see, it says that it is enabled, but no numbers have been specified. And when the numbering process begins, this status part, tells us exactly just that, and more actually, like how many numbers we got, how many partitions, and, well, the rest. So then basically up here, we'll be getting a report on everything. Next up, we got the numbering rules. Let's see what they are. So you can see, first off, we got the filters. Obviously, you need some filters for the numbering process, and this is how to define them. Now, to give you an example, we're trying to work or basically number the current panels, right? So, give me a new filter then. We need to name it. Current panel. And OK. Now let's find and select current panel from here. Next up, we need some parameters for the filtering. Like, for example, I'm going with type name and this value. All right, it got added here, current panel. Let's see what we got next. Here we got numbering parameter. Where exactly you want the numbers to be displayed, to put it simply? For example, you want them to be displayed within the comment section or the mark section. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I want to cancel this. We're trying to number these current panels, right? I want the codes or the numbers to be displayed here within the comments or within the marks here. So yeah, basically, again, this is where you can specify where you want the numbers to be displayed. All right, I just canceled everything, so let me do this again real quick. All right. Current panel, based on type name. This is just an example. You can go with any other parameter that you want. All right, so we talked about numbering parameter. Next up, if we click on this item, we would be able to specify, define, or create, to put it simply, create a new and unique parameter. Now, there's a point though. The newly created parameter should be either a built-in parameter or a shared parameter. Oh, and actually there's another point. The created parameter should definitely be an instance one, and do not forget to activate or enable this option, the second option. I'm talking about values can vary by group instance. Right, anyway, I'm going to go with a shared parameter, and as you can see, I already got one, part number, but just avoid this, let's go ahead and create one together so that you would become familiar with the whole thing. So then, let me delete this file. Do I need it though? I don't think so. So yeah, let's just delete this and try this whole thing from the scratch. Create. I'll call this test. Now give me a group, which I'm going to call numbering. Now here from the parameter, I'm going to go with part number. I want this to be a comment, general, and as for the data type, going with text. Okay. As I said, instance. The second option. You know what? Let's just go with the first one and see what's going to happen. Yeah, why not? Identity. Category. Let's see what kind of categories I need. I need like current panel, mullion, even doors, windows, room. And you know what? Enough. Okay, now take a look at this. If I go ahead and open up this list, as you can see, none of the items that I just selected is being displayed here. Why? Exactly because of the points or the rules, the principles that I told you a few seconds ago. I mean, as you can see here, we're going with the first option instead of the second one. Guys, let me put it simply. The numbering process itself is actually a unique process. You need unique numbers and codes for all the items. So you need to go with an instance parameter and instance related option. Take a look at this. If I open up the list, here we go. All right, so overall, this would be how to specify or create the required parameter. Next up, we got the partition. Through partition, you would be able to specify some sort of you can say a boundary for the numbering process. Like, as an example, let's say you're about to number the doors within a building, and using this item of through partition, you would be able to do so based on the levels or the floors. Or as another example, numbering the doors based on the rooms or the opening angles. Now, remember this, guys. Using partition is not actually a necessity. However, we could use it for the sake of, controlling or managing everything better. And remember, in case we actually didn't use any partitions, here we would see the term unassigned. Now, at the moment, it is off. I'm going to hit edit. Here, in order to use the partitions, start or begin using the partitions, we need to select partition by parameter values. Now, working on curtain panels, so here I need to find a parameter suitable or basically just related to curtain panels. And obviously, based on the selected category, these parameters would vary. Now, let's see what exactly we got here. As for my first parameter, I'm going with area. Once again, guys, we're just testing this whole thing out. I mean, you might not even need or use partitions at all. All right, next up, we got element matching. This would be another optional item, actually. Now, again, I'm going to click on edit. And exactly like before, matching by parameter value here. You know what we're basically doing would be considering all the same or the matched values as the same number. As an example, if I go with area again, I'll be getting a single number for all the same areas. And once again, you can go with any other parameter that you have in mind. Now, let me give you a very interesting point, especially when you're working within a structural discipline. Take a look at this item, matching by element geometry. Here, you would be able to specify a unique number for all the elements with the same geometry. To give you an example, let's say we got like a 10 of a profile with a very specific kind of geometrical form. In that case, we can actually specify a single number for all of those profiles. Now, this is not something new, by the way. I mean, we had it before in some other softwares for numbering, such as Tekla. And, well, now we got it in Revit as well. So, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that this is actually a very good and useful item that we got right now. Alright, what I'm going to do now would be deactivating this. I don't want anything to be matched. And next up, we got number formatting, guys. Again, we need to click on edit and enter this tab. And what we could basically do here would be specifying the required format for the numbering process. Like, for example, here we got first number in the sequence. And I guess it is quite obvious what it does. I mean, we would be able to use this item for specifying and controlling the sequence within the numbering. It has some options. First would be include, which is the default option. It basically means it's displaying all the numbers. As an example, let's say you want to number the doors based on the rooms, and the room numbers begin from 101. And you want also to use some letters as well, like A, B, C, and so on. Using this option, you'll be getting like A101, B101, C101, and the rest. Then we got skip. Using this option, we won't be getting any letters in the first number. So then we'll be getting 101, then A101, B101, C101, etc. Third option, skip if single. To put it simply, if you had like a single item or number, you won't be getting any letters. But in case you had multiple ones, again, you won't be getting any letters in the first one, exactly like in the second option. Alright, then what I'm going to do would be setting this on include, which as I said is the default option. Next up, we got show number value. What kind of values do you want to display? Like, you just want numbers or letters, like capital letters or small cases, whatever you want. Let's just stick with using or displaying numbers. Alright, using the next item, you would be able to control the decimal numbers or specifying them. Take a look at that sample. Currently it says 1. Let's change this to 3, for example. See? Right now, 4 even. Basically whatever you need or want. Alright, I'm going to set this back on 1 and move forward. Okay, take a look at this list, guys. Here we have some parameters which we can actually combine with our numbers. To give you an example, here I'm going to search for type. Give me type. I'm going to move it up. Oh, no, you know what? Let me move it down. First, give me number. Yeah, first show me the number, then the type. And I'm also going to add this separator in between them. All right, let's see what other parameters we can use here. And there are no shortage of parameters, by the way. Like, we got length, image, width. You know what? Just give me width and height, both of them. And again, the separator. So then, as you can see, we actually got a full control on the formats, guys. And you know what, to make everything even better, let me go ahead and add all through some brackets in there as well. Let me see now. Yeah, this is good. And oh, I also need another separator right here. Is it enough? Yeah, I guess it'll do so. I'm gonna hit OK. And then right after, apply. And by the way, after doing this, after applying the whole thing, it begins applying the whole thing. It begins putting the numbers in almost immediately. And let me select something. And by the way, if there was any problems with the numbering process, you won't be getting anything in front of a part number, which is not the case here, fortunately. Here we got the number, then this is the type, then at the end height, and width and height. Exactly what we have up here. Awesome. As for our next point, take a look at these parameters, comment, mark, and also the parameters that we might create ourselves. In our current case, part number. And in front of part number, we can see numbering partition. If we click on this, we'll be entering the numbering tab again. And as a reminder, guys, in case we didn't specify or didn't have any partitions, here we would have seen unassigned. Oh, in our current case, as you can see, we specified the partitions based on the area. Now, to elaborate more on this, first off here, we got the template itself, then we got the partition. Again, it has been specified based on the area, more precisely, the panels with 0.32 square meters. And again, here we got the part number, and if we hit edit, we'll be getting a list on all the partitions. So as an example, here we got like 6 partitions or 6 parts with 0.35 square meters, or 12 of this one, 18, then 36, and basically the rest. Yeah, so at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that all the partitions have been numbered, have been correctly numbered. And as a cherry on top, actually, guys, this whole process, this entire process has been done completely automatically. Yeah, now we can easily apply this whole thing. Or if you want to edit or modify this even further, that is quite easy as well. See, for example, I'm just going to deactivate this and apply the new modifications one more time. Let's check this out. See? Simply done. Now let's select one of the parts. For example, this one was the number 975. Now, how about this one? 76. Then here 77, and basically so on. So let's try creating a schedule as well, guys. Give me current panel here. Based on type, also width, and then height. Then what else? Oh, part number. And okay. Now, take a look at this. As you can see, we got all the numbers here, all the codes. And to make this whole thing even better, I'm going to open up sorting and grouping here. And then I'm going to try to do the sorting based on the part number. So again, we have all the numbers and the sequence is completely correct, the order. And yeah, basically there's no problem whatsoever. I'm going to select this now. Let's see. What is it? Here we go. Also, what's the number? 253. Alright then, so basically this would be how to do the whole numbering process in Revit 2027. Now, I'm going to go back to the Manage tab. What I'm going to do would be deactivating this and apply. Now, if I go ahead and select some panel, doesn't matter which. Now, take a look at this. As you can see within the Properties tab, we can still see the number, the part number, but now we would be able to remove it without any problems, for example. What I'm trying to say is that we'll be getting the ability to apply manual modifications and edits. All right, let me set everything back now. Let's see what else we can talk about. Going back to this tab again, here we have the sample, and then down here we have the number sequence, through which we can access this tab again in order to apply any required modifications, basically. Alright then, I'm gonna hit OK and go back. Now, give me a duplicate. Okay, rename. Give me a copy of this. No, duplicate. OT. Obviously, we can't use the same name. By the way, when we get a duplicate, it keeps the settings. Now, if you recall, I said that when we are using multiple templates, the priority would be with the first one or the top one. Anyway, what I'm going to do this time would be specifying a different partition. Previously, we went with area. This time, give me type. Apply. And OK. Alright, now let's go ahead and select the part. We got the number here again. Then I'm basically going to enter the numbering options tab. So you can see the priorities with the first one. Let's change it. Apply. Now selecting the type again. Part again. As you can see, this time the numbering is being done based on the type. Yeah, so basically this would be another important point to which we need to pay attention. Next up here, if you recall, I said that we'll be getting a report on the entire numbering process. Now, according to the report, for the first column panels, we basically got no numbers. And for the second one, we got 1065 within 2 types, as you can see. Again, let's change the priority. Again, we have 1065 this time in within 1 type. What was the partition? Oh, unassigned. So then let's go ahead and specify a partition area. Now this time we have 1065 within 82 partitions. In other words, 82 different areas for all the panels. Alright, shall we change our elements? This time let's try the doors. Yeah. So first off, from the View tab, as you know, and as I explained actually, we need to be creating the required filter. Doors, select. As for the parameter, I'm going to go with type name again. Yeah. Apply and OK. Now, you know what, let's make sure that our filter is working properly. I'm using a view template, so then give me a duplicate. Duplicate. I'll set my view template on none. And then I'm going to open up Visibility and Graphics. Filter. Add. And Doors. Now I'm going to deactivate Visible. Again, VV. Filter. Door. Disable. Apply. And yeah. It works perfectly fine. Now, from the Manage tab, the numbering, I want to disable these two and create a new one called the doors. We already have the filter, so let's just select it from this list. And if we didn't, as you know, we can create it from here. Now, as for the numbering parameter, you know what, let's just go with the one that we created earlier, part number. And now the partition. Now, as another reminder, guys, I said that the parameters that we'll be getting here will vary or will be different, actually, based on the selected category. For example, at the moment for doors, here we have doors from room to room, but I'm not going to go with this one. Instead, give me level. Again, you can go with any other thing that you want, like room number or anything else, basically. All right, next up, here we got element matching. If you recall earlier, I said that when dealing with items and elements with similar dimensions or even similar geometrical forms, you can activate this option, for specifying or using a single number for all of them. And as for another thing, I said that this option is very useful when we are dealing with or working within a structural discipline. You know what? I'm just going to disable this for now and circle back to it later on. Now include number with 1 decimal. Let me add some parameters like width and height and the rest. Then again, I'm going to add a couple of brackets and then some separators in between everything. It'll do. So here we got the number, then the width and the height. Yeah, this will be our format. Apply and OK. Now if we start checking this out, we're going to see that all the doors have been numbered. Alright, now exactly like before, let's create a schedule as well for our doors this time. As for the parameters, give me type, you know what, this time, type mark. Alright. Then give me model. After that, width, height, and at the end, the part number that we created before. Okay, good. And you know what, let's add level as well. I'm going to move it to here, I guess. Okay, good. Now, first let me maximize the tab a bit. Then I'm gonna sort everything based on the level, based on which we actually specified our partition as well, if you recall. Now, take a look at this. Within the site level, we have a single door, which is not the case for the ground floor. We got like 48. Yeah, 48 doors. Then for the first floor or level 1, we got 39. And as you can see, this goes on and on within all the levels, guys. And this is actually what I meant early on when I said partition specifies the boundary for our numbering process. All right, now let's try this one more time. This time a little bit differently, though. What I mean is that from edits here, I'm gonna go ahead and activate this option. I mean the option about the whole geometrical form and stuff. Okay, let's check our schedule. Let's see what has happened to it. All right. To understand this whole thing better, I'm going to sort the schedule based on the part number. See now, this time, all the doors with the same geometrical form have the same number, or a single number. Obviously in different levels. Yeah, so basically a very interesting and useful item. Now, let us try an example within the structural discipline as well. So, I'm going to open up this structural file, guys. Zooming in a bit. Let me select something like this beam here. Exactly like before. First, from view, we need to go ahead and create a filter for this. A filter that I'll be calling framing. Right. Now I need to activate the structural framing here. Here we go. And then as for the parameter, again, I'll be going with type name. One more time as a reminder, guys, do not forget to check your filters. So then from visibility and graphics, filters, I'm going to add structural framing. Yeah, we're basically checking the visibility here. By the way, it's taken a while because we have some connections. You know what? Let me just hide the connections to help to get on with the process a bit more rapidly. Yeah, so from category, need to find structural connections. Yeah, I'm temporarily disabling all the connections within this view. Yeah, good, better. Now from manage, I'm going to open up project parameters. I'm going to create a new parameter, a shared parameter, by the way. Select. You know what? I'm just going to select the part number that we created earlier. Identity. And in framing. I mean structural framing. Okay, good. Now, let's open up numbering again. We got some default templates, guys, here in our structural file. I'm talking about rebar numbering, rebar coupler, and fabrications. I don't really need these though, so I'm going to disable them and create a new one. Structural framing. I'm going to move it up. Then from filter, select the structural framing that we created. Now for the number parameter, none of the parameters are being recognized because, well, we didn't activate this option. All right, anyway, give me part number. All right, now as for the partition, guys, I'm going to go with reference levels because we're dealing with beams and rebars. Now for the element matching, if you recall, I said that this geometry option is very useful in structural discipline. Let me just do the whole thing without this option first. Let's see what we can do for the format. Give me cut length. Also, reference level. Again, guys, you can go with any kind of parameter that you have in mind. These are the ones that I usually go with. Now, exactly like before, I'm adding some brackets and some separators. Okay, this will be my format. The number, the cut length, and also the reference level. Okay, now just apply the whole thing and wait for the numbering process to be done, guys. All right, all done. Now let's select an element and check the whole thing. Here we go, part number. As you can see, the code has been specified completely correctly based on the reference level. Okay, now shall we take a closer look, guys? For example, within the first reference level, we got 277, the second one 253, and well, the rest basically. And while we're at it, let's actually go ahead and check our general reports. We got 1407 within 15 partitions, which actually means within 15 different reference levels. Now, give me a duplicate, rename, just going to add by level to the name. Now, I'm going to copy this by geometry. Okay. And I'm going to enable this one. Now, not going to change any settings, just activating this geometry option. Now let's just apply this and find out exactly what's going to happen to our numbering process this time. Take a look at this. We got 1407 within 15 partitions. Now, once again, let's select an element or a part, and this will be its number, its code. Whereas another example, these beams or parts should actually have the same number because they have the same geometrical form to them. Is it the case though? Yeah, we got 42 for all of them. But for example, for this one, we have a different number because we have a different geometrical form. What else? Again, these elements are the same. They have the same code. But this one is different again. Alright guys, let's try working on another example. Like, let's actually try numbering connections and plates maybe. So one more time, as for the first step, we need a filter, structural connection, copy, plate. I'm going to put this here. Alright, now I need to go ahead and select it. Let me find plate. I can go with any other thing like bolts or anchors. Again, based on type. And okay. Now let's enter the visibility and graphics and check this out. So I'm going to deactivate everything first, guys, because I mean, this is not a necessity. I just want to work a bit more easily and rapidly. I'm just going to leave the connections on. See? You know what? We can even deactivate or turn the bolts and anchors off. Okay, you know what? Let's actually do that. From connections, I'm going to deactivate everything except for plates. Here we go. Now we can only see the plates, guys. Now let me select something, this plate. As you can see, we have the part number parameter here as well. Entering the numbering tab now. Hit a duplicate. Okay. Enable. Now plate. Then part number. As for the partition, do I need one though? For our current example, I guess options such as width or length or even thickness are the best ones. Actually, thickness works the best. Alright, anyway, as for the element matching, you can go, as you can go with any of these parameters that you have in mind, or, just the geometry option, which I'm going with here. Alright, what's next? The format. We can add the number here, and as for the parameter, well, let's just go with the thickness. And then obviously I need a separator in between everything as well. Alright, I guess it'll do. Let's apply this whole thing and wait for the process to be done. Okay, now let's check the sequence number. Take a look at this. Here we have a full and complete, or you can even say a detailed outlook on our entire numbering process. As you can see, we have all these numbers here, and remember guys, they are being set based on the thickness. Alright then, now let's check the code for one of these elements. Like here we got number 2 with thickness 30. How about this one? Okay, so we have the same number because they are matched. And then, oh, by the way guys, when numbering steel structured items, assembly parts, so main parts even, would mostly be considered as single parts. So then within their codes, we can actually use some specific letters like P as in plate or S as in single. Just to make them more recognizable somehow. Alright then guys, so that would basically be how to number or specify codes for steel structures. We can also add or set up some tags and create schedules. Now for further elaboration, let me enter this sheet for example, and then give me this view. Yeah, let's say for example we want to set up some tags based on part number for these elements and parts. Let's actually create a tag. File, new, annotations, metric generic tag. Now, do not need this one, so remove. Then from family categories and parameters, give me plate. Now for the label, I'm adding part number again. Then here I'm going to type down single part, space, double dot, space again, and then part number. All right, now let's, I'm just going to set this here on the left, and then I'm going to give it a color. Transparent, 0.1 for the frame, and then font artifact element. And yeah, I guess it'll do. Let's load it in. Double click from annotations, load tag and symbol, plate, select the family that we just created. Now move the cursor here, press tab, and then put the tag here. See, single part, number 1, and as for the thickness, we have 20. Now let's do the same here. We have the same thing. How about here? Number 3, thickness 10. And yeah, overall, as you can see, this is how we can set the tags. Okay, good. Now let us try creating a schedule as well. Plates. For the parameters, you give me thickness, length, width, and also number. I'm going to move the number up. And for the sorting, going with part number. And I'm also going to enable filter by sheet. And yeah, that will be it. We got our schedule. Let's go ahead and drag it within our sheet. All right. And because we activated filter by sheet, guys, our schedule only contains information, or you can say detail regarding the items that we have within the sheet. So we can actually go ahead and deactivate this option to get some sort of a general kind of schedule. Either now, the only thing that we need to do would be finding a location or a place for the schedule within our sheet. That's it. And that would basically be how to create a schedule for ourselves as well. All right, awesome. Let us go through another example, this time for numbering the rebars, for example. So then for manage, I'm entering the numbering tab. Then if you recall, guys, I said that we already have, by default, we have some templates for rebars, for numbering the rebars. And what I'm going to do would be using the first one, rebar numbering. I'm going to select the same thing for filters. Then for numbering parameter, here we got rebar number. In prior versions, we actually had something else. Let me put it this way. In prior versions, both the concrete and steel segments were the same, but now they are separated and we can find rebars within the concrete segment. Now, previously, when working with rebars or on rebars, we had a numbering item, but now we don't have it anymore. Why? Well, because we have the numbering item as a built-in item in this version. Anyway, as you can see, for the rebars, we got the parameter here in the properties. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate these templates. Okay, let's see what else. We also have the partition here as well. And then for the element matching, as you can see, the geometry option is activated. Yeah, so everything is already specified. It begins from number 1 and with 2 decimal. You know what, I'm going to go with 3 though. Now, as for the format, I'm just going to go with number, no extra parameter. And yeah, let's just apply this and see what's going to happen. Checking the reports. 108 within 2 partitions. Let's go ahead and select one of the rebars. We have 012. All right, good. Now, next up, I'm going to go ahead and select these rebars from the columns. Don't really need this part down here, so deselect. For the filters, just give me rebar. Now, partition, columns, and apply. Okay, let me just hide this. Then again, rebar. You know what, I already have B4 for the partition, so let's just go with it. Alright then, so reset. I'm going to select this rebar again. And as you can see, the partition is automatically and immediately specified here. I mean, we don't really need to do anything extra. And for this one, we have B4, as you can see. Okay, let's see what else we can do here. I'm going to open up this sheet again. You know what, let's create another schedule. Give me number. I'm going to move this up. Okay. And yeah, here we go. We got the rebar numbering here. Let's close this down. And now we can start setting or just placing the schedule within this sheet as well. Guys, early on within this very session, I mentioned that we are able to go through this process regardless of our discipline. I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of discipline you're working in. All the steps are quite the same. Oh, and as another point, guys, which might actually be the last point of our session, let's say we've done a numbering process, and then we've gotten a duplicate and did another with the same settings, I mean. Now, in such cases, when dealing with similar parameters and values, we'll be getting a warning informing us about the whole situation, helping us prevent unnecessary and extra interactions, you know, by either changing the numbering or applying the new one. Alright then, guys, that will be all regarding the numbering item, or, you know, I guess it's better to say the entire numbering process in general in Revit 2027. Remember, guys, numbering is a very important part of our work, regardless of our discipline, and now we're easily able to it in this version. Some new features has been added to Revit 2027 regarding the structural discipline, and we can even say the concept of producing detailed concrete elements has been quite revolutionized. Now, in this session, we'll be discussing the changes applied to user interface and also spacing layouts for rebars. Now, to begin our work, I'm going to open up a template, and what I have in mind is this one, structural analysis default metric. Or, you know, any other structural template that you want. Now, first thing that catches our eye here, guys, would be this new tab called the Concrete tab. In prior versions and within the Structure tab, we had some items and sub-items such as reinforcement items or concrete detailing items or even the Precast tab. In this version, though, all of those items and sub-items have been replaced by this tab called the Concrete tab. Now, as you know, guys, from user interface, we would be able to control all of these tabs and even items and panels. Like, to give you an example, let's say we don't really need the precast items. We can go ahead and turn them off or disable them. See? Or, basically any other item. Now, this process is not something new, by the way. I mean, we had this before. The only new thing about it is the fact that we are able to control the concrete and precast tab. Alright, moving on, guys. Next up, we can talk about the fact that some items and icons are kind of changed or even moved. I mean, you know what, it's better to say relocated. Oh, as an important point, guys, remember, from this version on, we won't be having anything called reinforcement numbering, because the numbering itself has become an independent and a built-in item, and it could be used within all the disciplines. For example, when it comes to working on rebars, you would be able to specify codes and numbers based on different aspects such as partitions, parameters, or even geometrical forms. Now, we actually have a video or session on the numbering item and all of its points and features. And for further information, you can check that video out. Alright, as mentioned a few seconds ago, some of the icons are different now. As an example, here we got reinforcement setting. As you can see, we have it as some sort of a tab instead of menu like we used to see back in prior versions. So we can access it from the concrete tab like this. Now, the same goes for example, cover settings or the cover itself even. More precisely, we don't have anything for it within the option bar. Actually, we don't have the option bar anymore. All of the items that we used to have within the option bar are now relocated into Rebound. As for another thing, when working with rebars, now we got the shape browser as a very, you can say, large and visible item. Alright then, guys, there are some more items and icons that are quite different in this version of the software, and I think we actually covered them all within our prior session. So yeah, let's just move on. Now let us begin our main discussion of the session, which would be regarding the spacing layouts for rebars. To elaborate on this, guys, we are going to talk about an interesting feature helping us distribute the rebars on different elements. I'm talking about both complex and simple ones. Now, the item that I want to discuss is called the formula. To put it simply, using formula, we would be able to distribute our rebars on different elements, as I said, with a lot of preciseness. And this actually means more precise details and even documentation process. To begin our work, I'm going to go ahead and try setting a concrete beam here. 500 by 800. Like this. Now I need a section. I'm going to try aligning it right to the center. Now entering the section for the scale of 1/25. Now I'm going to select this concrete element and then up here click on rebar. We can find the layout item within our Properties tab. Now by default this is set on single, but we can open up this list and select custom spacing, which is actually a new option in Revit 2027. Now, after selecting this, we would be able to specify a formula, and at the moment, 3 types of formula would be supported. First type of formula includes numbers and distances. Let me show you what I mean. Give me a text. Let's say I need 10 rebars, and then for the distance, this is just X, guys. This doesn't mean multiply or anything. For the distance, give me 100. 100 millimeters. Then I need a semicolon. After that, for adding or distributing rebars to the remaining parts of the element, we can throw a question mark in. Then again, X, 250 millimeters, semicolon. Then for the end part, 10 rebars with, again, 100 millimeters for the distance. So then according to this formula, guys, the rebar distribution would be something like this. For the first part, we'll be having 10 rebars with 100 millimeters in between them. Same goes within the end part. And then the mid part would be filled up with as many rebars as possible. And then we can always change this, like give me 8 at the end. This will be the first formula, guys. First type. The second type of a formula includes specifying the length and the distance again. Like, for example, 1200 millimeters at the beginning with 80 millimeters of distance, then 1000 millimeters at the end. And as for the distance, maybe 110 millimeters. And then for the mid part, 200 millimeters of distance. All right, this will be the second type. And the third type is actually quite interesting. It includes specifying percentages and distances, guys. For example, the first part would be like 20% of the total length. Then at the end, we'll be having like 30%. And then whatever remains would be for the mid part. Let me just demonstrate. 25% at sign, 100 millimeters. Then one more time, semicolon. Then one more time, question mark. 200 millimeters. Another semicolon. And again, no, 30%. And that's for the distance, 110. Just to make it a bit more different. Now, based on the specified percentages and distances, the rebars would be distributed. Let's just check all of them out. I'm going to copy the first type. Select shape browser. Let's find something. This. Setting this on perpendicular. And then paste the formula here. And just like this, our rebars would be distributed on the selected element. As you can see, exactly what we specified within our formula. Now, even more interestingly, guys, from Annotate, we would be able to use Align Multi-Rebar in order to add dimensions to this whole thing for the sake of adding more detail. Honestly, this is awesome for documentation processes. Now, let me remove this and work on the second type of formula. Alright, guys. I just made a mistake here, guys. Instead of X's, I actually need to use @signs. Okay. Now, one more time, copy the formula. Then again, select the rebar, and then paste the formula. Click here, and all done. And we can also add the dimensions again. The rebars are set here exactly based on what we specified within the formula, guys. Obviously, in all the parts. Oh, by the way, if there were any misplacements, you can easily use flip set. Alright, let me set this back. Then remove and moving on to the third type. Again, copy the formula. Rebar selected. And paste. Oh, guys, we might be getting this error. Formula is invalid. We need to make sure that our formula is completely correct. I think I forgot to add a semicolon somewhere. Let me see. Oh, no, actually, instead of X here, I need to add an @sign. So, one more time, let me copy the formula. And then basically go ahead and paste it again. Enter. Here we go. No errors, no problems, and we got all the required rebars. Yeah, everything is working perfectly fine, guys. And then, as I said before, to make this whole thing even better, we can go ahead and add the dimensions. Now, the small parts here, guys, would in fact be the deformed area within this whole thing, guys. Nothing too essential. Now, as an interesting point, guys, if I go ahead and change the length, the rebar distribution won't be ruined. See? Instead, it would be upgraded automatically and accordingly. The same goes if we were to use the second type of formula. Take a look at this. If I change the length again, this whole thing would act accordingly. Oh, and by the way, guys, when we're dealing with formulas containing distances, in fact, let me press UN. In fact, we're dealing with this unit system. Well, precisely here we got reinforcement length for controlling the length, and then obviously we got reinforcement spacing for controlling the distances. Okay. But obviously, guys, exactly like in other concepts, specifying the correct unit system is very important. Now, as for our next point, guys, remember this question mark that we used for the mid part, for example, or the basically the remaining part. This question mark would be the less calculated part of the formula, which actually makes sense when you think about it. I already mentioned controlling the misplacements, like give me 1800 here. Then just do a right click and click on flip set. Alright guys, that will be all regarding one of the most interesting features added to Revit 2027 for a structural discipline. To be more precise, using these three types of formula for controlling the rebar distribution. Let's talk about tags in Revit 2027. Basically, we have more control on them. Actually, it's better to say on the tag leaders. Back in the prior versions, during the documentation processes, while adding tags or going through the tagging process, there were some difficulties. As an example, the tag leaders were a bit difficult to control, or actually, it's better to say manage. Let me try giving you a demonstration on this. Let's say I want to add a tag for this door here. So then from annotate, I'm going to go ahead and select tag by categories. Now take a look at this, guys. We have some items and options within Rebound and a Properties tab. Let's see what they are and what were added. Remember, in Revit 2027, we don't really have the option bar anymore, and all the items, all the required items and options could be found within either the Rebound or the Properties tab. All right, anyway, for the leader end, I'm going with free end. Then I'm going to click on this door for setting the tag like this. Now, after setting the tag, guys, as you can see, we'll be getting a couple of snaps. A few seconds ago, I said that in this version, in Revit 2027, we have more control on the leader lines. By this, I mean, back in the previous versions, you couldn't really control the location in which the leader lines would have been set. Especially for walls, guys. I mean, you would have gotten something like this, which would have been quite problematic later on within the printing process. Now, though, we can easily unpin this and move it around. See? Now, again, this will be for when you're using freehand. Right, then back to the store again. As you can see, for leader end, we have free end, and for leader start, here we got attached, okay? Either way, the point that I'm trying to prove is the fact that we're easily and freely able to move this leader line around and set it wherever we want to. Now, if I click on this, guys, this whole thing goes back to the default version, default mode, whatever we had back in the prior versions, and this line is extra. So I'm going to click on this again. And to put it simply, guys, we're converting our leaders into free ends. We can do the same thing up here. See? And we can relocate the leader line. All right? One more time, guys. If we click on this again, it goes back to attached. All right? As for our next point, as you can see, the leader is being attached to some points, and these points, the location of these points goes back to the family. Let me elaborate. I'm going to enter the tags family template. Now take a look at the properties. We have a new item here, exclude from leader outline. Let me put it in this way, guys. Back in the prior versions, we actually had a problem. I'm going to set up a line here. Basically, let's say there's a line underneath our tag. Our tag looks like this. Now, let's load this back into the project. Let's see what's going to happen to our tag in there. As you can see, the leader line would be attached to this line. So once again, we need to unpin it and move the leader. Now, what is different about this in Revit 2027 is that, let's say you don't really want the leader to be attached to this line here. And in that case, we can use or enable this option, exclude from leader outline. Take a look at this. If I check this in the project, as you can see, the leader, actually does not have anything to do with this line anymore. All right, let's go through another example, guys. Let's say I want the leader to be attached to these lines, guys. I'm going to use this item. Let's load this in. And here we go. As you can see, the leader is attached to these lines. We have a text here. Let me go back for a second. And I'm basically going to exclude the text or these labels, guys. Now the leader should be attached to one of these lines, guys. Yeah, see? So then basically, guys, this is exactly what I meant by saying we have a good control on our tags and tag leaders on this version. I mean, it's kind of like we're customizing the leader lines. All right, then, guys, let's go through our next point now. I'm going to go back to our family template because we have another option to talk about. First, I'm actually going to disable this. And I'm going to do the same for these. The option that I want to talk about, guys, is called Leader Snap Reference. To put it simply, guys, Leader Snap Reference is an item that we would be able to use for setting or locating the leader lines a bit more precisely and accurately. Now, surely you are familiar with the concept of snaps, guys, like, for example, endpoint snaps, and without that item, you won't be getting such a thing. So then, one more time, guys, the tagging process in Revit 2027 has become quite easier, guys, okay? All right, next up, we can talk about multi-category tags. To put it simply, in the new version, multi-category tag is combined with a tag all and tag by category. But more precisely, we actually have the item here as well. But what I mean here is that we can actually open up loaded tags and symbols. Here, I'm talking about this tab, and then basically add the required items to our list. Okay, let me show you what I mean here from Files, Annotations. Now, I'm going to find and select multi-category tags. And then I need a parameter, guys, a common parameter in between all the disciplines. Like, for example, comment. Or, you know, any other thing, basically. From label, I'm going to go ahead and select a type name. As you know, type name is a common parameter, right? In between all the disciplines. Now, let us apply some graphical modifications on this, on the label. Yeah, such modifications are not really difficult, honestly, and surely you are quite familiar with them. Okay. And by the way, guys, there are some settings that you can go through yourselves regarding these two options that we discussed earlier. Okay. Anyway, let's load this into our project. All right. What I'm going to do would be entering the loaded tag and symbols tab, and then try selecting the created label for example, walls, also windows. And then for doors, I'm going with this one as the default tag. All right. What I'm going to do next would be opening tag all, then select the elements, basically window, wall, and doors. And then when I apply this, all the multi-tags would automatically be set for the selected elements. Now, to make this a bit more visible, I'm going to go ahead and control the scale a bit. I mean, this is a little bit difficult to understand because we have a lot of elements. So, yeah, the scene is very crowded. Give me 1/10. Yeah, here we go. Awesome. All right then, guys, overall the point that I'm trying to prove here is the fact that due to the new features that we have for tags in the new version of Revit, the documentation process has become quite easier. So let's talk about the new features regarding the analytical items in Revit 27 and the structural discipline. We have many different points and features, interesting ones, honestly, that we need to discuss, and they are quite helpful, especially for designers who would constantly use Revit structure and robot structure. Alright then, without any further ado, let's begin our work and conversation. Let's say we're working with a structural element, like for example, a structural wall or a structural floor or something, or basically just any element with layers. Alright, I'm going to enter the 3D view. If I select one of these, so you can see we only have a single layer. Let's try adding some layers to this, guys. 50, 50. The structure layer or the core layer is this one. Give me both finish 1 and finish 2 for these. Alright, The interesting point is that if we go ahead and create an analytical panel, it gets the core's thickness. So then in case we wanted to collaborate with Revit structure or robot structure, the core thickness would automatically be calculated. For our current example, we have several layers, as you can see. Now, as you know, in the new versions of Revit, analytical models won't be created automatically. We need to do it manually. And it is quite easy. We need to enter the Analyze tab. Then here we have Structure Analytical Model. Then here we can find Run Physical to Analytical for building. I mean, obviously this is a physical model, right? So select the item, then click on the elements. And after they got detected, click on Run. Now just wait up for the analytical panels to be created. All right, there we go. Now, if I select this, as you can see, the thickness is 200 millimeters, which is the thickness of our core layer. I mean, if I go ahead and check the wall, the total thickness is in fact 300. But again, the structure or the core layer is 20 cm or 200 millimeters. So yeah, this is an interesting feature that we have in the new version. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the thickness here to 150. But the analytical model, the thickness within the analytical model won't change. Now, don't worry though, this is not that big of a deal. We can just easily apply the new modifications and update this whole thing. From Run, click on Edit. Then first remove the whole thing. Then just add these two walls and run again. Oh, and by the way, guys, remember the paint elements won't be considered automatically. Anyway, let's check the thickness again, 150. This is an awesome feature for users who, as I said, would use both Robo and Revit structure. Alright, as for our next feature, I'm going to copy this first. Then I need to do some trimming. Are these joined? Yeah. I'm going to run another analysis. Okay, good. In prior versions of Revit, guys, when we were creating analytical panels and models, the whole thing would have worked as a completely solid or one component shape. See, like this. But now we're easily able to segregate everything. See? And then basically when we're done, I mean, when we got the shape that we wanted, we can adjust everything or join everything up again. Alright, as for our next feature, well, actually, it's more like an enhancement. Let me open up a new file. Another file. Just gonna deactivate all of these extra items for now. And I'm also gonna hide the connections for now. Okay, now, the feature, or even the enhancement that I wanted to talk about, guys, is the fact that in Revit 27, the analytical panels would automatically be aligned with the structural elements. Now, this was actually possible back in the prior versions, but it wasn't being done automatically. We had to do it manually. Now, to elaborate on this, I'm going to enter the top view and try creating the analytical model. Now, remove the entire thing. Add. We just need some of these elements, not all of them. Okay. One more time, entering the top view. Finish. And run again. I'm also going to hide the floors temporarily. Alright, as I was saying, the analytical model would automatically be aligned with these edges. This was considered as some sort of a manual modification that we had to apply back in prior versions, especially when we were dealing with balconies. Alright then, guys, as for our next feature, we can talk about the splitting the analytical panels. And let's say, for example, we want to divide a floor, guys. In that case, we can use split. As an example, I'm going to open up one of these plans. So you'd see, I'm going to set these views next to each other. Now, give me split. And then I can select or click on one of these axes, like this one. Alright, there's a warning which says there's an opening, and it says that I'm going to remove the opening. Alright. Anyway, now as you can see, this panel here is completely separated. And we can always continue this process. I mean, for example, we can split the panel, this time based on this axis. See? So as you can see, we're easily able to divide our analytical panels as well. Now, let's go back to our sample file again. Plan and second level. I'm going to set up an axis here. Then, again, I'm using WT, activating tile view, and set up these views next to each other. Now, one more time, select split, and click on the axis. Or if we were to apply this split a bit differently, guys, we would be able to use one of the structural elements. Like, take a look at this. I'm using this element this time. As you can see, it would be splitted, aligned with the structural element. Alright guys, when dealing with nodes, when selecting them, for example, we'll be getting this item or option called can be hosted. Now, by default, this item would be activated, guys, which means that all the connected elements to this node, the selected node, would act together. Meaning, if we change one, the others would be affected. This is useful for when we don't really want to change the connections. Now, disabling this option would help us work kind of freely, like all the parts would act independently. Alright, for now I'm just gonna enable this option again, and as I said, by default it is enabled. But because most of the times we actually need the consistency. Alright guys, next up we can talk about selecting the elements based on their hosts. As an example, I'm gonna select this, define. Let's draw something on this boundary once. Now, what do we got here? DL1. Very hypothetical value. Okay. Now, if I do a right click, guys, we would see this option called Select Analytical Attributes or Host. Using this option, we would be able to select the host basically more rapidly. This is very useful within larger projects. Alright guys, let us talk about a completely new feature in Revit. The item that I want to talk about is called cladding, an extremely useful item, especially for designers. Okay, what I'm going to do at the moment would be running an analysis because I want to create an analytical model here. Okay guys, cladding is an item that we should be using when dealing with secondary loads or non-structural elements. For example, let's say we got some panels within our facade and let's say they are adding some extra load to our building or model when the wind is blowing, for example. Now, before continuing the discussion, guys, remember, let me mention this point again, basically. This item, this option, this feature, whatever you want to call it, it's completely new. We didn't even have something similar to it back in the previous versions of Revit. Alright, now, by host, area, set the load on wind. Okay. Now, let's see what I can do next. I'm gonna select this, right click, select analytical attributes and hosts. We just talked about this option, by the way. Here, I just need panel. Okay, now, from structural role, select cladding. Alright guys, so that would basically be the item, but the question is, what's the use? Well, for that, we actually need to take a look at the robot structure. What I'm going to do would be, from robot structure, I'm going to open up a sample model. English, one of these sample files, basically. Like this one. Open. Yeah, I guess this will do. Now up here from load, I'm going to select member load, and then here we would see cladding. We also have cladding type, two-way, close. I'm going to click on this face. Let's give it a value. and apply. Alright guys, now because Revit actually supports clouding, we would easily be able to transfer this model from Robot into Revit and continue our work without any problems. I'm running this back to geometry for a second. Okay, yeah, good. Let's go back to Revit then. Entering the 3D view from the Analyze tab. I need to use the Robot plugin, more precisely Robot Link. Now we just need to update this in order to transfer our analytical model on which we worked in Robot into Revit, guys. This is actually something quite common, honestly. I mean, collaboration in between Revit and Robot is something common. All right, we got the model. If I go ahead and select this face, the structural role says clouding. Again, guys, this is something that we didn't have back in prior versions. Oh, by the way, guys, we just transferred the members here, the analytical lines, not the model itself. If we want the model, we need to go ahead and use updates, model, and result here. I don't really want the rebars, so I'm just going to deactivate this option. I just need the analytical model. So, okay, wait for it. Done. And now we can check the result, guys. By the way, guys, this particular part of our work is not something new. I mean, we had such a process in previous versions. The only new thing about this whole thing would be the clouding feature. So we have all the required items here. Apply. By the way, guys, remember, in Robot, we actually have the ability to generate a simulation for wind blowing. Let me demonstrate, actually. I'm going to go ahead and select Generate Wind Load. And basically, this way we can create some sort of a visual effect representing the wind. And it is useful in both Robot and Revit. Okay, I'm going to start the process now. All done. Let's close this down. Now let's go back to Revit again and update the model one more time. Update, okay. Now we can go ahead and check up our analysis results one more time. For example, I'm going to select this load, apply. So then, guys, to put it simply, the point that I'm trying to prove is the fact that the collaboration, overall, the collaboration in between Revit and Robot, which is something extremely important and essential for us, especially for designers, has gotten quite easier in the new version of Revit. Now, okay, let me just get rid of some of these extra items. I mean, this whole thing is a bit crowded. Oh, just this one. Yeah, I guess this shall do. Here we got the result manager. Let me just close this down and move on to our next topic of discussion. Okay, guys, remember, what we have transferred here in Revit from Robot is just an analytical model. I mean, if I go ahead and try hiding these loads, for example, you would see that we got the elements, the main elements, only as analytical models. Now, from Result Manager, I'm going to go ahead and reset everything. Let's try controlling our structural roles, for example. This could be beam. We could have done this in Robot as well, guys. Oh, well, we can do it here as well. So beam, to make sure that everything is functioning correctly. Let's select this. From filters, give me analytical members. Now the structural roles for these ones would be columns. What else? I guess these elements are also columns. Alright. This panel here is a floor. Alright. And then we can basically go on like this, guys. Anyway, now that we got the analytical model, we can go ahead. We can use this actually for creating the physical model as well. So here we have the item, analytical to physical. Select the whole thing and run. And the rest will be done automatically. Here we go, guys. We got the physical model. So once again, we have an awesome collaboration in between Revit and Revit now. As for our next point, guys, we would be able to create some filters for our nodes. For example, here we got point boundary conditions. What I'm going to do would be selecting these and temporarily set them on pin. And then for these ones, user. Now, as I said, we would be able to specify or create some filters for these. For example, I'm going to go with P01 for the name. Now here we got boundary condition. Select points here. Then for the state, equal and fix. Apply. Now give me a duplicate. Rename. P02. Pen. Now another duplicate. Rename to P3. And for this one, obviously user. Now that we got the filters, we can work with them from visibility and graphics. Like we can select them all. Then based on what we need, we can enable, disable, or basically do whatever we want with them. We can apply graphical modifications on them as well. Alright guys, that would be all regarding the new features and points regarding the analytical models or working with analytical models in Revit 2027, and also collaboration in between Revit and Revit, which is very important.